Thank you, John. I do feel like the odd one out on this panel because, as you say, my day job is in the world of finance with the Blackstone Group, in contrast to all the creative talent on this panel. However, I assume that my qualification for joining this panel comes through my board membership of the UK's National Endowment for Science, Technology and the Arts, known by its, commonly by its initials, NESTA. And NESTA is the leading independent body promoting innovation in the UK economy. One of our core activities is policy and research into the drivers of innovation. And in this context, we've done some pioneering work into the creative and cultural industries, insights which I will draw upon on my comments today. Now, the creative and cultural sector of the economy is hugely significant in the United Kingdom. In fact, the UK has the largest creative sector in the European Union, and relative to GDP, probably the largest in the world. It is also responsible, directly or indirectly, for the employment of nearly 2 million people. The sector spans a wide spectrum of activities. In the UK, we classify the 13 sectors shown on this slide as constituting the creative and cultural industries. And as you can see, they range from architecture to the fine arts and from fashion design to software. Although diverse, one of the common threads running through these subsectors is that they possess a high degree of expressive value and often invoke copyright protection for the intellectual property rights generated. As a result, there is a high proportion of intangible assets in these creative sectors. I think one of the key policy issues is the link between the creative sectors and the rest of the economy. Historically, this has been pretty poorly researched, and it's sometimes difficult to prove the causality. What cannot be measured cannot be managed. So it is important to address this gap in our understanding. Creativity and innovation are overlapping concepts. In the main, creativity is about the origination of new ideas, either new ways of looking at existing problems or of seeing new opportunities. And innovation is about the successful exploitation of new ideas. So Nesta's work in this area has therefore looked at the business-to-business linkages so that we can establish whether creative inputs have led to more innovation. And the bottom line is that the evidence does suggest that firms with stronger B2B linkages with creative industries are more likely to introduce product innovations. In order to take these findings to the next stage, Nesta is currently funding an interesting pilot project in Manchester, England, where we are giving small and medium-sized enterprises creative credits. Basically, these are vouchers which SMEs can exchange for goods and services from creative businesses. And what we want to test is whether increasing creative inputs improves the underlying operating and financial outputs of these businesses. And this pilot will hopefully provide some interesting empirical evidence and learnings for policymakers. Which leads us neatly onto this next slide, where I've summarized 8 different drivers for innovation. Some are more important than others from a policy perspective, and I wanted to highlight 4 of them. Education and skills is probably top of the list. Perhaps with the notable exception of Steve Jobs, there generally seems to be a shortage of experience in how to commercialize creative ideas. And this is somewhere where government intervention can help address particularly the skills gap. The legal framework for protecting intellectual property is also a key to enabling and supporting commercialization of creativity. In building greater business capacity, there's frequently a market failure in the financing of SMEs, where governments often need to step in order to bridge the so-called equity gap for risk capital. And lastly, I'd also highlight some of my fellow panelists have been talking about public investment in the creative industries. And the UK has a rich institutional heritage ranging from the BBC to the art and design schools and from the museums, which we've got represented on the panel, to the theatre and dance companies. And in an age of fiscal austerity, the key challenge is to disperse public money carefully and, most importantly, strategically. This leads us onto another important area where Nesta has been looking at recently, which is innovation in arts and cultural organizations. And we've worked closely with the National Theatre and the Tate, two of the leading cultural organizations in the UK. And we've identified 4 dimensions of innovation. The first is in audience reach, where the National Theatre has pioneered live broadcasts to digital cinemas to expand their audience reach and capacity beyond the physical theatre. And similarly, the Tate has experimented with online exhibitions. In both cases, this is not only expanding audience numbers, but it is also bringing in new socio-demographic groups. In terms of new art forms, 45% of National Theatre productions are from lesser well-known playwrights. And in the case of the Tate, 44% of their exhibitions are contemporary, 33 modern, and 24 historical. In the third dimension, value creation, in addition to the willingness to pay and to donate, which measures economic utility, the National Theatre and Tate are also seeking to capture emotional responses to art forms. And on the fourth area, business models, the digitization of content, live streaming, 3D, robotics, virtual reality are some of the technological developments giving rise to new possibilities. And of course, the sustainability of new business models is still being tested and will no doubt be iterative. The fifth cross-cutting element across these 4 is really technological change, which a lot of people are talking about, be they audiovisual capabilities or in the performing arts or speech-activated museum exhibits. And you sometimes get the feeling that the creative industries have a love-hate relationship with technology. But experience suggests that it's wiser to embrace the inevitable rather than hold it at bay. And finally, I just wanted to summarize some of the selected reports that Nesta has published in this field, which are available from the website free, www.nesta.org.uk. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to the panel discussion.
Great.